Welcome to Car Talk. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Sabina. Steph's recovering from getting sick.
Yeah, sorry. So I might sound like a frog.
I asked her, I go, hey, did your voice get deep? And she never wrote me back.
No, I didn't write her back because it didn't get deep. I just couldn't talk at all.
I've gotten sick where my voice like
my whole throat was like swollen. It was more painful than anything.
And you probably had strep throat, dude. Seriously.
I didn't get no medicine. I just let it wait till it went away.
Oh, okay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you're not supposed to do that. So this is episode 15. It was going to be called We Voted, but Steph didn't vote this
My
year.
bad. Yeah, I was sick and I really wanted to vote, so I was kind of mad, but it's fine. I guess in 4 more years I'll do it again.
Yeah, that's true. And 2-year elections too, whenever that comes up. But
2 years elections for president? President's 4 years.
No. Like in district,
city
council. Everybody was up for all that stuff.
Yeah. I know it was a good ballot.
Mm-hmm,
I was reading it all.
It was a lot of
all
challengers
props
for the council members and county and stuff like that. But so
wait, was this your first time voting?
Yes,
Did you voted, right?
This is actually the first time I voted
ever
in
your life.
Yes.
How old are you?
33 years old.
This is your first time you voted.
Yes.
You know, the first time we were able to vote was when we were 18.
Yes.
You didn't vote. You weren't excited. You're like, then I remember I was like, I'm going to be 18 for this next presidential election. I'm going to get to vote. And I voted.
Matters.
And I voted. I remember I was.
Who'd you vote for?
Obama.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, when I talked it over for Alec, Alec kind of pushed me a little bit. He's like, what, Mom, you never voted? And I go, no. But I feel like for me, it's not so much like, because I know there's people out there that have said oh, my vote doesn't matter or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I don't vote. I don't have, I don't agree with the electoral colleges and everything like that. Right.
I was going to say, I think those people just don't understand how it works, because I used to think that too, but in school they broke it down of how it works. Like every so many votes equals like an electoral vote, like something like that. I don't remember exactly the breakdown, but it does matter. Your vote does matter.
Yeah, it does. I think it matters no matter what. I mean, it just shows that when you're going out there and you're going to the polls and you're making your voice heard by checking that box. It doesn't matter if the proposition doesn't pass, or the candidate that you select doesn't get, put into office. It just matters that you went out there and you voiced your opinion.
Yeah, we're a democracy.
Exactly.
People.
So
for the people.
Don't say that your vote matters, because it does. So, I mean, me personally, okay, so in high school, we were taught about how, elections are ran, every 4 years. And then they made us take a test oh, let's see if you're a Democrat or a Republican, right?
Yeah, I don't like that stuff.
Yeah. So it's like a personality test, right?
Yeah.
Where you're at. But I didn't understand that. I just thought it was, gonna sound very ignorant. I was a kid. Let me repeat that. I was a kid.
Damn. Yeah. What did it say you were? Republican. I could guess.
I don't remember, but I wanted to be. I think I wanted to be a Democrat because I was like, I want to be a Democrat because it sounds cool.
Stupid. I like the name better than Republican.
Yeah, it does. It's like I don't know about the colors.
Republican sounds like asshole.
My favorite color is blue too, so I was like, which one's blue?
Damn.
Yeah, see, there
blue
you go.
Party.
I'm one of those.
Yeah.
Was.
Yeah.
So I can't really remember, and I think I was a registered Democrat because I think you have to, once you get your ID, you have to register yourself to register for vote, right?
You don't have to claim a party though. You could claim as unknown.
I didn't know that. Well,
yeah, because I'm not registered as a party.
Like we're still kids, even when we turn 18, we're still kids.
Yeah,
I guess. But for me personally, being 33, obviously you can say oh well, how many elections did you not vote for? Right, about 2.5.
Well, given that, since that you didn't really care to vote, is it because you didn't really care who was president?
It's not so much as that. It's because I feel like when you make a decision, you have to educate yourself on what you're making.
Oh, right. So you felt like you didn't have enough information. I've been there. I'm not
going to make a decision if
I think that was the last presidency. I didn't vote because of that.
And it sucks because it's like, dang, you didn't do enough research or you didn't educate yourself. But sometimes you don't. It's not necessarily. It's like, well, I mean, should you continue to vote even though you didn't do your research or educate yourself on there? Because technically, so when I got in college, or I think still in high school, maybe beginning college, when I took another government class, we have access to the proposition. So when the proposition is put into proposal, we actually can view the proposal.
Yeah.
And it's 100 pages and everything like that. But if you're willing to do the work and understand it, it's a better chance that you have to understanding it instead of listening to other people.
Yeah, that's why I think it's funny because on the ballots, they have 2 sentences about the proposal. And I'm just like, bro, there's a lot more to it than just those sentences,
and then there's also rebuttal, but anybody can rebuttal. You can sign up and you can like, I'm going to write the rebuttal. You know what I mean? So those rebuttals sometimes are not even like necessarily educated. It's more like
just how you feel,
politically motivated or emotionally, voted for, placed in there. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how private you are in politics, but I feel like politics are very like sensitive. I think it's more sensitive than religion, to be honest.
I do too. And it's not that, I guess I'm private about politics. I don't ever talk about politics. You ever hear me talk about politics? I
feel like we really don't talk
about politics, but I think I'm someone that doesn't talk about politics because to me it kind of is what it is. So my feelings about it, I guess, is no one else's concern. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it is what it is. Like, for instance, the president. It doesn't really matter who I voted for, didn't vote for, how I feel about it, because it is what it is. Our president is who our president is.
But if somebody were to ask you, like, if I were to say, hey, who did you vote for or whatever, would you have no problem disclosing it, or would you hesitate to? Depends on person.
I would hesitate just because I don't want what's coming after that. I don't want the whole conversation. I don't care about your point of view. I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Why does it have to be that way?
Because when people, it is that way every time. Hey, so who did you vote for? Oh, you say something. Oh, well, did you know they did da 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 da? Oh, does it? Yeah, I probably do. If I wanted to vote for them, I probably do know that. But it's like, it's a thing. Like, it's like a competition. Like, oh, that's who you're voted for? Well, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I don't give a shit what you think, to be honest.
Well, like, is it like, would you compare it to? It sounds like, because this is my first time, and I've read so much, and I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't even want to share who I voted for. Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, but it's like,
well, I think this year was a little different. I think this year was a little harsher.
It's a little sensitive. I mean, from what I've heard, it affected, the kids and stuff. And ooh, even my, son was talking about it, so, it has an effect. I mean, people were calling out. People have felt so sensitive towards this election.
Yeah, that people were saying that there was going to be a riot based on who won. And I was just like, no, there isn't. You guys need to chill out. Chill out.
Hey, it's not a big deal. But I think for some people, it was a big deal.
They were like, what are you people listening? Yes, it is a big deal. Dang. The thing is, it is a big deal. But it is what it is now. Like, the fact, whoever, whether you wanted them as president or didn't want them as president, they are president. So, like, that's how we mean it's, like, not a big deal. It is what it is.
The person put in place, whether you voted for them or not, like, they're going to do what you...
Yeah, they're still our president.
Yeah, they're going to do what... It's learning to accept reality. Yes. And how are you going to not necessarily cope with it afterwards, but what are you going to do for yourself to make sure that some of these policies that are put into place don't have a harsh impact on you? You know what I mean? Because that's what it all comes down to. I think of when people are like, oh, we don't like to talk about politics, I feel like it's not so much as the policy making decisions. I feel like it's more the people that are put into place and the candidates and talking about them.
Well, I do think that people take it like as a sensitive topic too, because think about it. Like, if you're passionate about a certain aspect,
let's analogy. Let's go like 49ers, right? Or I'm sorry, Giants and the Dodgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's more like, oh, you like the Dodgers kind of thing. Oh, well, this and this and that. Like, but there's
no, I mean this. Look, I think that like it gets like a sensitive subject because based on your political, you're being vulnerable to an extent with that person, because you're basically saying like, we'll just use abortion as example, just an example. No, not saying anything about abortion, but just saying it as an example. Like, if a president, if you feel strongly about a candidate because of their take on abortions, then you're becoming vulnerable to that person talking about it as to why that certain aspect means a lot to you. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to talk about that to somebody because like based on your perspective on abortions, you're basically opening up to them of why that is so important to you. Mm-hmm. And then if they kind of like bash you down like, oh, well, that's stupid because of da-da-da-da, they don't know you're taking like it's personal because it's personal to you, Mm-hmm. So then you say something to them and then now you're offending them. When you weren't talking about them, you were talking about that certain... You get what I'm saying? You feel personally attacked, but it's like not like that. It's not like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some conversations that happen like that. And then I also think that there's also sometimes that there's times where people treat these candidates and politics as sports team. Oh, well, the Dodgers suck and the Giants suck. So you see that? Like, I feel like, I feel for you when you say that, because I understand that, but there's going to be like, well, you know, the Dodgers suck and they suck. No matter if they won the World Series or not, they're still not champions like the San Francisco Giants. Damn, I'm taking it personal. You see that? You see how, like, you know, worked up? But that's because I'm surrounded by a bunch of Dodger fans. Let's take that for analogy. I can't stand them. All they do is talk shit. And so what am I going to do? Talk shit back, because I'm taking it personal now, right? So it's the same thing.
Because you take it like personal, like they're talking shit to you. Yeah. When they're not. They're talking shit about. I
don't play for the team.
Well, they're talking about your you're talking about your team, the team that you're cheering for, but they're not talking about you. Same thing with presidencies. Like, I'm like, just because you don't dislike a candidate and you like that candidate, we're not talking about you. It's still about the candidate. Like, you know?
Exactly. But people get sidetracked. People get, you know, take it personal and stuff like that. You know, they start throwing, you know, I mean, at the games you see, you know, Giants and Dodger fans taking offense. Look, you didn't play the game, you know what I mean? And you're over here throwing trash at each other, fighting each other because what? You know, you're a Dodgers fan and I'm a, you know, and the same thing goes.
But again, I feel like it's because with presidents though, it's because it's more personal. Like, presidents represent, like, you know, laws and things that affect us. So if you're highly against someone and someone like really likes them, then you just feel offended, because it's like, how can you like them when they're doing this? How do you like, you know? It's just like, it's not.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like even then, with being sore losers sometimes, you know, normal people, like sore losers, like, you're gonna make it an issue for those people that are winners, right? So I mean, I guess so. But I mean, okay, so kind of relating that to like being private. Some people are private with their political parties even. You may not disclose, because this is what people need to understand. Just because you vote for a candidate doesn't mean you belong to that political party. Because
right. Yeah, I agree.
I didn't know that. I didn't know until this year. I was like, oh, well, if I'm a registered Democrat, like, because I haven't changed it, you know, I can't vote for,
Republican Trump.
Yeah, no, I wasn't gonna say that. RFK, like Robert, like, because he was an independent, I believe, right?
I don't know.
I think he was liberal or independent or whatever, right? So if I was interested in voting for him, I wouldn't be able to, because that's what I was taught. Like, no, you have to vote in accordance to your political party.
No.
Most people though do. They'll be like, okay, it doesn't matter who's there. They're Republicans, so that means their views are with me. You know what I mean? Or, oh, there's Democrat. Oh, automatic. We're going to go ahead and vote for the Democratic Party because their views align with me. But that's not necessarily, you know, a fact, because some of the stuff that Democrats, you know, have a views on, I kind of am skewed a little differently. Like, I don't think necessarily our money should be spent there. However, who am I to, you know, judge, right? So I feel like even disclosing your political party for some people can be very private. But it's crazy though, because like, wouldn't you think that it would, I mean, back in the day too, like disclosing your religion was like an issue, right? But you can walk down, you can say like, oh, I'm a Buddhist, and people like, okay, yeah, that's your views. I respect you. Oh, well, I'm a Muslim. Okay, that's your views. I respect you. It should be like that sometimes, right? Oh, I'm a Christian or I'm a Catholic or whatever, you know? But that does not apply. If I were to go down like, well, during election time, right? Well, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, and it's just, those are fighting words. You know what I mean? Why can't you respect somebody and their political views?
Because based on how it's been, it's divided. It's divided the country. That's why.
No, and I agree. I think that, you know, division isn't always the best way to have or start conversations. You know what I mean? But I think you just have to go back to basics, you know, of respecting one another. And just because somebody's associated or registered in a political party, that does not change the person that they are. You know what I mean?
I think it's just right now people are highly disgruntled. People who live in our country, so that they want to blame somebody. So like, we're this way because of your party. Oh, you like this party, like, you know, they're to blame because of this, like, you know? So I think it's just a sensitive subject too, just because of the way our country is going right now. A lot of people are disgruntled. Inflation, the stock market, like a lot of things, a lot of shit was hitting the fan, still is. But so I think people just want to put that blame somewhere.
And I agree. And I think we all have our opinions on how we live, our dynamics. And I just feel like, you know, having the right to vote gives us like a voice to be able to express our opinions, you know. But sometimes I think people can go overboard and start to become disrespectful. You know what I mean? And I think it's okay. Like, if you're having a conversation with somebody and you guys are talking about politics or why you like this candidate, I think that's okay, you know? Because
can you vote if you're a felon?
No, you can't.
Oh, okay. I just thought, no, that just pops in my head right now because you're talking about everyone has the right to vote. And I was thinking, who doesn't have the right to vote? Just felons, right?
Felons, and then if you're under 18.
Right, and not a legal citizen.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
So, I mean, it's in the Constitution. We're born
right.
with this given right.
Interesting.
As soon as you reach 18 and stuff like that. And
yeah.
I feel like, you know, when we see these ballots, right, we have all these proposition and everything. Just because, I mean, stuff, if you voted for a proposition that I was highly against, you know, I shouldn't be taking offense that you're voting for this proposition that I wouldn't want to pass. You know what I mean? Or selecting a candidate that you think is like the best for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, so like, do you think that defines you? Straight up.
No, I think at the end of the day, everyone has different life experiences. So different aspects, different props, different candidates affect everybody differently. Like I brought up abortion last time. Like, some people abortion does not affect their lives. Like, they don't care about abortion. Like, that's like the furthest thing from their life. So do they care what candidates are doing about it? Probably not, you know, but they take whatever, something else highly important. So they care about that. So I just think everyone's different opinions and their situations in life are so different that's why people have different points of views of the candidacy. So I wouldn't judge anybody for that.
Okay, so if I were just playing devil's advocate, like, do you feel like who you hang out with defines who you are?
Yeah.
Or do you feel like you can't? Because to me personally, just because you hang out with someone doesn't mean that you're defined by them. You can be defined by them if you allow them to an extent.
I just think it depends. So I've always heard that the 5 closest people to you are the people who define you, and that you guys are probably all, and they define you because you guys are probably the most alike. You're probably most alike. The 5 people, like Rob Dial once said, he was like, look, he said, look, if you want to get in shape, then the 5 people that you hang out with, they better be all in shape. Because I guarantee you'll get in shape if you hang out with 5 people that are take their health and physical fitness seriously. Guarantee you'll be in shape. If you want to be fat, hang out with 5 fat people. Guarantee you'll be fat. Like, and I agree with that.
No, I agree, but statistics also show that if you place a person into a group of people who are doing well, like test scores, academics and stuff, chances are you're going to see an improvement in that person.
Exactly. See, that's what I'm saying.
So I feel like it's an influence, you know, and I don't necessarily think that can define.
I think it defines you though, because think about it. Okay, for instance, say you hang out with people that do drugs. So you go to their house and they're all doing drugs and you're not doing drugs, but the cops break in. Are you going to say like, oh, well, I wasn't doing any drugs, but there's like fucking needles everywhere and stuff.
But I guess I would say stereotype, and it'd be a time to be like, fuck, wrong place at the wrong time. You know what I mean?
But you always hung out with them. They're your friends.
Yeah.
But you don't do drugs. They just do drugs. But I like hanging out. You like hanging out with them.
I mean,
does that not define you?
No, it doesn't define me. It just means that there's something in that fucking friendship that's probably not going to eventually work out if I'm going to continue to hang out with these people. I don't think it defines me just because my friends.
Exactly. So what would exactly though? But so what would make that friendship last? Either you start doing drugs too, or they stop doing drugs, and then you guys could probably flourish as a friendship and stay lasting forever.
But I think I agree with boundaries too. You know, but either way, like either you're going to grow out of that.
So you don't think it defines you, who you hang out with?
Because I don't think it defines me, because I define who I am. Hey, just kidding.
Yeah, and you have a choice of who you hang out with.
Yeah, so either I'm gonna allow myself to get involved in drugs, or I'm not. But I'm gonna define myself by making that decision.
Yeah, but defining is like, okay, so when you hang out with people, what do? You talk. Mm-hmm. Okay, we talk. We have ideas. You know, we influence the way each other think because of you get my perspective, I get your perspective. Yeah. So we influence each other. So how is that not defining you? Like, how is that not in a way, like, how are we not in a way meshing? Not all the way, obviously. We're just, we're friends, but meshing in some sort of way.
Well, I feel like, okay, so you're going to apply it to our friendship. I feel like a lot of the things that I do, we have different perspectives on things. However, I have influenced you and you have influenced me and you have given me perspective on how to handle things. So I feel like we mesh.
That's exactly.
So I feel like sometimes, and this goes to our friendship, I feel like we're helping.
But exactly. But so we define each other though, to a sense, because if someone's like, if you're walking down the street, like, or whatever, you pass by a coworker we both, worked with or something, and you're like, oh yeah, I hang out with Steph, you're immediately going to be associated with me. Immediately. They're immediately going to think back to how I was or think, oh, you hang out with Steph.
Those are biases and those are like,
but you're defined by it. You cannot say, look, you cannot say that when we worked together in the jail that I was not defined by you. I could do nothing. I could do nothing but say like, oh yeah, Sabina, or oh yeah, whatever. And like you hang out. Oh, you talk to Sabina? Like, oh, you talk to some, because me and Sabina rarely worked together at first. So like people didn't know that we were friends or that we talked, as much as we did. So like, a lot of the people that were around me, they would never think that I would be associated with Sabina.
Because Steph is so serious.
Yes, I'm serious. Yeah, I'm serious. For private, whatever. I am goofy. But like me, I feel like mine and your goofiness is a little bit different. Yeah, sometimes
Steph's a lot more nonchalant, and I'm not.
Yeah, and in the workplace, Sabina comes off serious, too, and more, just more non-approachable. That's how I would say it, right? Yeah. Unapproachable.
Yeah, I'm not approachable.
Yeah, she's unapproachable and I'm more approachable. So people never thought that we would be friends. So like, did I feel I was being judged if people did find out that? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And they were. And they were. Why? Because I'm defined by that. Because, you out of everyone you choose to hang out with Sabina? Oh, okay.
See, I'm saying that's how the world works. I don't think that should be normalized. I feel like a majority.
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But
I'm saying I personally we, look at them, I speak for us, we go against the grain and say, like, that doesn't define us because we personally define us. However, we're not going to neglect the fact that if Steph brings it up or if people see us hanging out, they're going to associate. Yeah, of course, I can say that. That I don't think people should allow that to define who I am.
But they do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. In a perfect world, though, in a real judgment-free world, yeah, that would be right. You would be judged or defined off your actions, your words, like things like that.
And people do take
how you treat people, not defined by who you associate with. But in our world, in the real world, I think people are. We are defined of who we hang out with.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that sometimes when we're not self-aware of that, we kind of make that problematic because she's associated with this person, so this means that. You're already making misconceptions, misconceptions, about that person. And you don't even know them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just because they hang out with this person doesn't mean that's who they are.
You're right.
Sometimes we don't see the things that others people see.
You're right. You're right. But I do think it depends on like how often you hang out with somebody. Like how often? Like, is it often, or do you just talk to them every once in a while, or see them here and there?
I think that you're hanging out with them 24/7. You know what I mean? That you know them on a personal level. You can just see somebody hang out one time and go to lunch together and think like, oh, they're doing this, and in reality, that's not what's going on. So I feel like I don't necessarily think that you define you. I'm always going to stick by you define you.
Yeah.
However, I'm not going to neglect the fact that
I'm
walking down the street. Okay, because look at. Even though we mesh together and we, I feel like we're really good for each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when we take this into a negative aspect and we think about the relationships that we've been in, we can't sit here and deny the fact that we weren't influenced by other people's behaviors and picked up on certain negative behaviors and taking it into another relationship. You pick it up without even knowing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, you're like that. I'm like, oh, well, I go, when I hear your stories, I hear that was that person doing it to you, but now you're bringing it over here. But sometimes we pick up on these behaviors that we didn't know that we were doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's negative aspects, but I'm no one to sit here and say like, well, because you carried this from here, that defines who you are. If you realize that those bad behaviors, are bad and that you picked them up from there and you're not willing to change those things, then that says a lot about your character.
Yeah.
Because now you're defining yourself right in front of me.
Yeah. So as far as like it going back to the presidencies though, like the candidates, like people do feel strongly that who you represent defines you. And I personally don't believe that, because again, like I've said, everyone has different experiences and life lessons that some people, everything, like what's important to you may not be important to me. What's important to me may not be important to you. And that's completely fine.
And I think that people need to actually be more self-aware about that, aware of that, because everybody's financial situation is different. Everybody's background is different. Everybody has a different, it's your experience.
Everybody has different religious views. Everyone has different living situations. Some people grew up with no parents. Some people grew up with both their parents. Some people grew up with one parent.
So we have reasons why we select the people or want to believe in the propositions, because basically it's your opinion. It goes into your beliefs. It goes into your expectations, your standards that you set for yourself. And not everybody is like you. We have to remember that, you know? So just because, you know, somebody voted for a person, don't automatically assume that they voted because, you know, the negativity aspect. They probably see some positivity in there. Something
absolutely.
That you don't see.
And more than likely, I have never, ever voted for a president where I 100% back them on everything that they're saying.
Because they're not you.
Absolutely not. Like, you're not going to agree with everything. Who do you vote for? You vote for someone who you
most align with.
Most align with.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that, like, when we come to this election, right, and obviously we hear both bad things on, you know, both candidates, it's like, okay, you got two options. What benefits you and your situation? That's what I thought about.
It is, you know what I mean? That is exactly what it is.
You got to put aside a lot of things, you know?
You do.
And you got to pick, or you can choose not to vote. But also, too, don't rag on somebody that's made a decision that you didn't necessarily partake in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. And, you know, the reality is that not everyone does the research. You know, not everyone
watches the debates. Not everyone is in tuned with. They like to hear a lot of hearsay from people, you know. Oh, would you hear what they did, or they want to do, or they're going to do this, they want to do that. And,
I mean, but how easy is it to spread rumors?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
and even in real life, like even at the workplace, how easy it is for people to spread rumors about people and people believe it. So then you create this perception about, you know, this person, and people don't want to be around this person. So I feel like sometimes that happens in, you know, when deciding for a candidate, people get bullied into, you know, voting for a candidate, or they allow themselves to be,
or if they're like
persuaded like that.
Yeah. Or if like all your friends are voting for someone and you're not, and then you feel like, oh, okay, maybe I should vote for them then, like, you know, or your family and stuff. That's why I feel like it's not a topic of discussion, like, because you don't owe anybody an explanation for who you want to vote for and what is important to you and what you believe is right. Like, you don't owe anybody an explanation for that.
I don't think you do, but I think it's okay to ask questions. I think some people are just too, like,
I think you too, but I think it's just so sensitive that, like, because I would like to talk about it, but I just feel like it gets blown out of proportion, you know, or you're asking something, it's really a question, you know, and they're just like, you know, they get all uptight.
Well, how could you think that?
People get all uptight about it.
Hey, we're just going to stop it right here.
Relax.
It's just a freaking, you know.
It's just a talk. Because that it is a good way to get educated like that. Because sometimes you don't know something that someone else knows, you know? So it's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that. Hey, did you know this about this person? Like,
I always think of this whenever you bring up a topic with something that's debatable or like it's a discussion. I feel like you take that opportunity to educate them in a sense.
Exactly.
About things.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, when we think about why we make the decisions or the choices or picking, like, even, you know, talking about presidency, I feel like we always want to look at what benefits ourselves and the situation. However, we can't neglect the fact that some people don't educate themselves. They don't do the research themselves.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is, like, sex sells. You know what I mean? Sex sells.
Sex
sells.
What do you mean?
Like, okay, so when you do marketing and stuff like that, if it's a woman in her bikini eating a cheeseburger or whatever, that sells.
Like Carl's Jr.?
Yes. Boom. People fucking bought burgers after that shit. You know what I mean?
When it drips.
Juicy. Yeah. I want to go get a big Carl right now. So I feel like, and it's appearance. Sometimes we can't neglect the fact that some people are going to look at the president and be like, well, I'm a woman, so I'm going to vote for her. Right. Or, I'm a rich white man, I'm going to vote for him. Right. Yeah. Because that's what they see. That's the ignorance, I would say. That's naive, but who am I to judge them? Right. Cause I sound like I am. Right.
Yeah.
If people feel like they relate to them in that matter, and as far as appearances, I'm nobody to, judge them, but also too, like, that's an opportunity to be like, okay, well, that's the only reason why that you're voting for this person, because of their ethnicity. you know, because they have a degree and one doesn't. Like, I want to know a little bit more, because honestly, a conversation like that tells me who you are. If you're telling me that, well, I voted for him because I voted for her because she's a woman, then where is your stance when it comes to like women equality, and how educated are you on that, and why do you feel that that is the most important reason to vote for this candidate? You know what I mean? And if you can't tell me why, to me, I'm just gonna look at you like,
because women are smarter.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, I mean, when you're listening to people's reasonings and stuff, you get an idea of who they are, what they stand for, and what their opinions are, their perspective on things. I think it's important because you're getting to know that person. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think that you voting for Kamala is going to define you. I don't think necessarily like you voting for Trump is going to define you as well. Like, I just think that I would like to know the reasons. If I felt that was so important enough for me to ask, you know, a significant other, I would.
Okay, so you're saying that like you're not going to judge someone based on who they voted for, but you're going to judge them for why they voted for them?
I'm not so much as judging for like why they voted, but I would want to know, because then I get a sense of who they are.
But what if, yeah, I get what you're saying, but like, what if, like, for instance, like how, okay, we'll just say the woman thing, and that's their only reason. But to them, they have really good reasons as to why they would prefer a woman president over a man.
Yeah, and I feel like that's
it's not
perceptions, that's their perspectives. Like, if they, I just want to know. I'm just curious. You know what I mean? Like, oh, why'd you vote for? Oh, because she's a woman. Okay, well, what do you think about a woman? Like, why is it a woman put into authority that would be a better
fit than a man?
Yes, exactly. And obviously, there's scientific studies that women are more capable and in certain
more
areas.
Mature, more professional,
yeah, they live
smarter.
Yeah, they know how to, you know, manage stress accordingly.
People think that women are more emotional. It's actually men.
More, you know, more intense, whatever, you know. So I feel like it's so good to understand like that reasoning, because you, like you said, you don't need to explain anything, but I mean, I would like to know. Like, I would not. I think
yes, I think I would. It's good to know if it's not going to be an argument, and if it's really just going to be a discussion like that. Like, it's not, you're not going to be judged by what you say.
And I feel like a lot of the times, like, we just that, you know, like I was saying, it's just being taken an opportunity to educate them. You know what I mean? Again,
I just feel like it's just super disgruntling right now because of the way the United States was being ran. Like, you know, like a lot of, you know, people are disgruntled right now, especially with the COVID happening, with inflation, like the housing markets. Like, it's just a lot of things have been hard for people. So when they feel strongly that a certain candidate could help us, and you're against it, people get angry.
I know, and I feel like sometimes people have to remember that some of these incidents have been the first time we've ever experienced this in America.
Or people think like you're stupid, like, oh, you're voting for them, like you're fucking stupid. Like, yeah, you know,
just like
seriously, yeah, like that's what people are like. You're
you know right now that because you voted for him, this means this.
Yeah,
just because you voted for her,
yeah,
this means this. Either way, it was gonna be some nonsense. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
No, like no. But I mean, if anything, what we're telling you based on what we're saying right now is just like trust but verify. You know what I mean? We all have our reasons. I don't think we're anybody to judge other people's reasons. However, if you feel like you're being personally attacked or whatever, like, I mean, I would feel uncomfortable if somebody said like, I voted for him for, you know, because he's white and stuff. It's questionable why, because of the history of why people have that reasoning for white supremacy and stuff like that. You can go into debt right there, but
I also think so too, that if you're one of those people that are like hardcore political, like you have your political view and stuff, and you're highly against like another candidate, I think you should do your research on both candidates, like not just one, because I think sometimes people that don't like somebody, they kind of shy away from doing their homework about them, and they're just so concentrated on the person that they want, and oh look, they want this, they do this,
so
they
of
do
course
that.
You're going to see the positive.
So of course you're going to find something positive, of course. But like you have to. To me, I just think if they're running for president, then they must not be that bad. There must be something good they're bringing to the table. Like, there's no way. Like, something good. So, like, are they a complete piece of shit? Like, probably not. Like, probably not. You probably don't want them as president, but they're probably, like, you know, not a complete piece of shit that you think they are. So just do your homework on both sides.
Yeah, and the thing is too is like sometimes we get sidetracked and we allow social media to persuade us. You know what I mean?
Well, like we were saying with all those AI stuff, like people don't even know what videos are real.
Yeah, I know. I've seen some videos. I don't know. That's crazy if that happened. Mm-hmm. But it's like you don't want to be arguing based on little to no understanding of why you're picking the candidate that you're picking. You know what I mean? And like me and Steph, like we encourage self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Those,
and we encourage you to vote too. It's our right to vote and share our opinions and what we want. So just educate yourself.
Yeah, I mean everything's public. I mean all these proposals, they're public. Things about the candidates are public as well. You just got to look for that information. Don't rely on
TV.
Yes, exactly. So just do that and be following the debates.
TikTok.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, the information's there. Don't always, believe the arguments being made on both sides because, at the end of the day, you got to educate yourself. And we all know everyone throws shade,
Mm-hmm. And watch the debates.
Yeah. I mean, as far as people roasting each other, I mean, obviously that's to sidetrack you and kind of get you laughing and kind of just, throwing you off a little bit so that way, oh, he's funny, or oh, sometimes we get bullied. Sometimes we look at people and we're like, they're like the elite figure or the alpha in this conversation right there, so I'm gonna go with them because I feel like a sense, kind of safe or whatever, and I mean, at the end of the day, like just because somebody's displayed certain behaviors or conducted themselves in a disrespectful manner, I don't necessarily think that everything about them, like you were saying, is makes them a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit if you do this right here, but that isn't. I've always want to believe the good in everybody and give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm big on that.
And I would hope that if you're running to be a president, then you care about our country to some sort of extent. So I wouldn't bash. That's why I don't like bashing. The candidates. It's just you have your different opinions.
I know. And I think that's really hard. I think for some people to have these conversations, like you said, because it's personal, right? A lot of them kind of take it personal to heart. And, I encourage people to have these conversations if possible. And if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, at least you tried, you know what I mean? And I feel
do you talk politics in your relationships?
Not really. I mean, no, not really. I mean, I have deep conversations about things. And why? Probably because I never voted.
Probably.
I never voted. And if they decided to vote, I don't think I was really too much intrigued in it. Like when I think of my past 2 relationships, the last one she voted. And the one before that, it wasn't something that I don't even know she voted. I don't think it really mattered. But I mean, now, like when I'm talking politics, I guess, all of a sudden I voted and now
all of a sudden she's a politician.
No, but like for me personally, I think it's just asking like, hey, like who'd you vote for? And I think I've asked, friends that, and they get all very like,
like, why do you want to know?
Yeah, like, why are you getting all defensive for? Like, who cares? Hey, it's just a question. Like, why? But then I laugh. And it's like a little jokey joke for me. So I'm like, why, who you're voting for or whatever. But it's very personal to them. And I'm just like, it's not even a big deal. Like, who cares? I'm not going to judge you based on who you're with. If anything, I'm going to ask questions like, why do you think that person? Why? Because I lack the knowledge. I didn't educate myself on the candidates. Or, even if I talk about a proposition, if they feel strongly about a proposition or why it should or shouldn't be passed, like, I want to know your perspective and your opinion. Mm-hmm. Because I also look at that person and be like, I want to be with a reasonable person. So if you're not reasonable or I don't feel like you're reasonable enough, bye. You know what I mean? So I always see any conversation about anything as a way to get to know somebody.
And honestly too, like people who are super into politics, they're cool. Like I like people who care about our country.
I like to be educated. That's
me too. I like people who are going to do the research and do all that stuff. And and I do take that into consideration when people are all sensitive about this. I'm taking it as, okay, you care highly about our country. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that to myself. You care highly. That's why you're getting so emotional right now.
Yeah, but I also, too, take this opportunity. So I don't really say anything. I just let them listen. I listen to them. And I'm like, okay, what do you think about this proposition? And instead of because they feel so, like, strong for it and passionate about it, they start to educate me on the facts of, wow, I didn't know that no wonder we're in a drought. We're over here sharing our water with San Francisco and LA, you know what I mean? So I feel like, that's important to me to know, because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. That's why we're not, well, how come we don't have more regulations? Or how come, it's an opportunity for those people that are so passionate. I'm not saying that I'm not passionate about my country or anything like that, but there's ways that I show it that other people
Yeah,
do.
yeah, exactly.
I don't need to be carrying around America and stuff like that.
A fucking flag, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's very important. I love to get educated. I love to know about these candidates and, oh, did you know this candidate? When people start bashing on a candidate, for me, it's just like, okay, well, you're not educating me on useful information. So why don't you tell me why this candidate is bad? Yeah. Why do you think that they shouldn't get the opportunity to be in office, Yeah. And if those explanations make sense to me and that's reasonable to say, then I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm in agreement. You know what I mean? Depending on the person and the credibility that they have with me and the rapport, then yeah, That's
what I'm saying. Like, the thing is like, it's not like, I feel like both candidates will always have something to offer good, something positive to offer. Like, it's just, like I said, it's just what more aligns with you. Like, that's all it is. Like, just because you didn't vote for them doesn't mean, oh, I completely dislike them, or you don't, you're not for everything that they're trying to go for. See, it's not for that. It just means like, oh yeah, you proposed some good shit. It's just that this person proposed a little bit more shit that I feel important about.
I like what you said though, because people are like, think that just because you pick a candidate, you're going to be behind and back them on everything. 100%. Yeah, no, and it's not, because I'm saying, like,
I don't think I've ever seen a candidate that I would be 100%.
Unless I was the candidate, then, you know what I mean? But either way, like, there's always going to be a disagreement. Like, yeah. I think that, okay, so
they're people. They're always going to be flawed.
I mean, the whole thing about the abortion and everything like that. I mean, me personally, somebody made a comment one time and I was like, wow, I didn't really think about that. They're like, yeah, it was a guy making this comment. And he was like, I don't think men should have the right to vote on whether or not a woman can abort a child. And I was like, wow. I've never thought about that. But hearing it from his mouth coming out, and I was just like, wow, that's something to take into consideration. But why would a man vote on a right for a woman? He's not carrying the baby and he'll never carry on the baby. So there's no scientific way of doing that. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about that comment? Boom.
I think it could go either way. I think people could argue that men vote for that because it's still their baby. Yeah, so like they're voting for like the right for their child to live, kind of thing.
Yeah, but have you ever heard a man say
that? I've heard that. I've never heard a man say that. I've heard women say that men shouldn't even be allowed to vote for that because it's not their body. It's not.
But hearing it from a man's perspective,
yeah. And I see that point of view. Like, I could see both point of views.
I was like, interesting. Do I believe that? That's not for me to like decide or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody has a right to vote. So I think that was a different perspective on things, and it was the first for me. But I mean,
I do think it's crazy that men are the ones making these laws for abortion. I do think that's crazy.
That's into consideration.
It's interesting. So, it's interesting.
So something like that, even then, like, let's say I hypothetically voted for Trump. I mean, that's something that I wouldn't have disagreed with. I would have disagreed with because, I mean, I'll say my stance with abortion because I don't think it's a big deal. But I think that everybody should have the opportunity to make the choice themselves. I mean, my thing is probably like my argument is more, I guess, has to do with my beliefs in God. Like, he's given us the opportunity to have free will. So who am I to prevent others from allowing them to make that decision themselves? Like, I'm no higher than him. You know what I mean? So for me to prevent that would, it wouldn't make sense, So that's my take on it, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, do I think that it's wrong to kill babies in general? I mean, when you look at it and have that perspective, it's a very sensitive subject to people. I think that there's some cases where people, get an abortion because of incest or rape. And I'm not saying that those are circumstances that are called for that. However, I'm nobody to judge what your reasoning is. So I will not go into depth with that. Like, those are people, those are reasons. And whatever the reason is, it should be respected. And that's not for me to judge. But I do believe that they have the right to be able to have that with freedom.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know. That summed it up for me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so if you didn't vote, well, hopefully in 4 years you vote. So, You have a voice. We all have voices. So
whether your decision or whether your choice gets passed or not, like you still have that ability to kind of like attempt to like, I guess, have faith in change. You know what I mean? Educate people and
not just that, but if you're able to vote, like what we all say, we all have the right to vote. Obviously, we don't, right? We just enlisted people. If you have a felony, you can't vote. If you are immigrant, you cannot vote, even though you've lived here all your life.
But see, these people have influences around the people around them.
And if you're under the age of 18, you cannot vote. So we say, oh, everyone can vote, but obviously, no, not everyone can vote because are there a lot of felons? Hell yeah. If there are a lot of immigrants, hell yeah. And that lived in this country all their lives, and guess what? They can't vote. So like, just use that right. We have a right to vote, so use it. Mm-hmm. You know, don't take it for granted. We're a democracy.
That's right.
That's right.
All right.
But again, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And stay tuned.
Deuces.